Okay, so today we are going to be discussing Avatar Book 3 or Season 3. I finally finished and I'm hurting. This video is going to be split up into two parts because I have too much to discuss. I did have quite a few requests of people asking me if I could split it up into all of Season 3 and then the final 4 episodes, and I'm going to split it up differently than that because I have too much to discuss, so I'm going to break before then, but I will have the 2 videos out at least really close together, depending on how quickly I can edit these. So Season 3 of Avatar kicks off with Aang with hair, which I feel I need to address because that was very confusing. Not confusing, just odd for me. I think I forgot that he could grow hair. And so when he had it, I took some adjustments. But then he put on the headband, dressed in his fire clothes, started going to school, and it actually fit really well, and I grew to really like him looking like a normal fire kid. In fact, everybody spending the majority of the season in the Fire Nation wearing fire clothes I really liked it a lot, like more than I think I probably should have. It was just really fun. It's always fun exploring a different area of this world and being in the Fire Nation, learning how the schools work, learning how their authority works, seeing people that are genuinely good and not biased toward, Fire Lord supremacy was really, really fun. We had some really fun episodes at the beginning with Aang trying to teach Fire Nation people how to dance, the episode with them visiting the village of people that were dying because of the fire factory that was polluting their rivers and taking all of their resources, and Katara becoming the water spirit, I think it was. I loved the scene when Katara was arguing with them that she will never turn her back on people that need her, and then Sokka saying, okay, I'm going with you because you need me and I'm never turning my back on you. Just the love in this group is everything to me. I've also been a fan of Sokka from the beginning. He is, from season 1, he has been the kid that wants so badly to be a leader and to be an adult and to be the respected one, but has been goofy and the comic relief instead. But I feel like I've been able to see from the beginning the potential for him, and I loved his growth in this season. I especially loved when he started really struggling with the fact that he was the only one within the group that wasn't a bender, and therefore the weakest and the least useful of the group, and he became obsessed with scheduling and maps and telling everybody what to do all the time. And then the group encouraged him to learn to fight with a weapon and train under a master so that he could be a more skilled fighter along with the rest of them. And he, of course, embraced that, got really excited, found the sword he wanted, and then submitted himself to the master of this town. And I loved this because the token, what are you going to bring to prove that you're worthy? And then the master asks him, what makes you worthy to train under me to learn this? And Sokka's response is, I'm not worthy. And I think that moment alone was such a great portrayal of Sokka's inner growth that happened a lot behind the scenes, because if he had been asked this question in season 1, then Sokka would have said, I'll prove it to you. And then he would have shown him how great of a fighter he was and talked about all of his great battles and talked himself up so much. But by season 3, he realizes that he's not so ego heavy. He's not so inflated that he thinks the best of himself. No, now he's humble and he says, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. I'm just asking you if you would teach me. And of course, this is what makes him learn. And of course, it was a really fun episode. I enjoyed watching Sokka train. I was quite frustrated with the growth rate. And I understand that we're in a condensed timeline, that we need things to move fast at this point in the series, but still, he learned a lot in a single day. He went from fighting another person and being terrible at it and losing terribly to, the training montage, and then at the end of the training montage, he beats the guy and then faces off against the master. And I know the master wasn't fighting him to his full extent, and he was just testing Sokka and proving that he has great ability and all that jazz, but it was a day, a single day. And I feel like so much, I mean, Katara's growth from an average or even weak waterbender to becoming the master that's supposed to train Aang was too fast for me. But I feel like for the most part, the series is paced really well and people have to fight for things, and I was pretty disappointed with how little Sokka had to fight for this. I loved that once again, we're not forcing Zuko's arc. In the beginning of this season, Zuko is with the Fire Girls and he is a part of the group. He's now dating Mai, and his dynamic with them was fantastic. I really enjoyed this. I didn't need a rushed arc from Zuko because I loved watching him interact with them and seeing how he fit so well within their group, but also seeing how he's still in so much turmoil with himself. And I loved the episode where, first of all, they played volleyball on the beach. I loved the volleyball scene. But then the party that they went to and how incredibly awkward Azula was. Zuko and Mai, Zuko constantly blowing up over everything, constantly being mad, Mai breaking up with him, and then the little confessional around the campfire. And I did feel like the campfire scene, while it was necessary and I appreciated it for the amount of depth we got from each of those four characters, I appreciated it a lot, but it did feel a little bit forced. But overall, I really loved that episode in particular. The confession of Zuko of saying, I have everything I've ever wanted and I'm still so angry. And they ask him, who are you angry at? And he says, I'm angry at myself. Watching him go back and forth to Uncle Iroh's cell and asking him for advice and Iroh ignoring him, and then him being furious and blowing up and saying hurtful things at Iroh and then regretting it and constantly going back and forth and not knowing truly who he is or why he's still not happy after he's gained everything he's been fighting for. I loved it. I loved that they took so much time to build him up so much. We also had some conflict with Katara and Toph. Come here, buddy. Between Toph now loving scamming and swindling and stealing to the point where they don't need anything, and then of course Katara morally has issues with it, so she plays the mom role again. And again, I liked it for the depth that it provided, but there were some moments that I felt like, okay, this is pretty cheesy, like with Sokka and Toph on the mountain, and Sokka and Toph having this heart-to-heart opening up about how Sokka doesn't even remember his mom's face, and Katara stepped in, she's the mom role, and all that jazz. And then, I don't know, it just, sometimes the emotional growth was there, and I appreciated it, but it felt like it was forced. Then we have the Combustion Man, who Zuko hired, and he has an eye painted sideways on his head, and somehow that makes him able to hock a loogie and fire bend from his brain, and for some reason, that's more powerful. And frankly, I do not understand this. It added some interesting drama, and I loved that face-off between him and Zuko risking himself to save them. That was all swell. But I don't understand the Combustion Man. Why does shooting fire from this tattoo over your brain, why does this somehow provide more power than fire from your hands or your feet or your mouth or wherever people are shooting fire these days? Why does his spark and make firework sounds and then combust at whoever he's fight? I don't understand the Combustion Man. I feel like there's good explanation for almost everything in this world, but I don't understand him. We also had that episode where we learned that the waterbenders are more powerful at night because the moon provides extra power to their bending abilities, and we got to meet the woman who used to be from the Fire Tribe and who has become very skilled at blood bending and tries to teach Katara. I loved this episode. I loved the face-off between Katara and her. I loved that Katara was forced to figure out blood bending. Again, Katara does tend to learn things a little bit on a faster rate than I really want her to, but that's fine. We move forward. I loved that she was forced to use it on this woman in order to stop her. She shook off the old woman using bloodbending on her, and instead she used it on her, and then she's conflicted because she had to use this magic that she hates and that she doesn't believe in at all. Okay, I'm about to complain a little bit more, but I want to make really clear, even though I'm having some, like, talking about the things that I didn't love as much as well, I want to make clear that season 3 is my favorite season so far. I loved it even more than season 2, but I've got one more thing to whine about, and that's episode 9 as a whole. There have been a few episodes in every season that I could take or I could leave. They're not my favorite, but not bad. Episode 9 is the one episode that I just did not like from start to finish. And that's the one with all the dream sequences. Aang is nervous and he's afraid of this battle that's coming up and he's afraid that he's gonna lose, so he just keeps having eccentric dreams, nightmares about how everything's gonna go wrong, and he loses it. And I get it. Aang's nervous, and he has to learn to overcome his nerves and gain confidence. Stellar. We could have illustrated this in very different ways that would have been a lot more interesting than a series of dream sequences, and we did not need a whole episode dedicated to it. Now we have the episodes with the eclipse. So first, everybody comes back together, and I loved this because there have been hints that things have been going on behind the scenes, but this is when we finally get to see what's been happening. Sokka's dad and his whole water tribe warriors all come in, and they bring with them people that we haven't met throughout the last 2.5 seasons, and we get to see old favorites and old friends, and when everybody comes together, it was just so wonderful. It was so nice to see everybody again and to see how happy everybody was to see each other. Seeing the inventors had been working on things that Sokka had come up with, and they had been perfecting it. Sokka apparently invented submarines, except that you have to use water bending in order to make them move. I loved Sokka's sketch for his idea for a submarine, and then the inventor was the one that was like, I had to come up with a lot. Their use of the torpedoes that they shot through the submarines was so interesting. And just in general, their whole mission of getting into the Fire Kingdom base walls before the eclipse happened, that whole sequence of fights was what I love the fight scenes in this series, because elemental magic is one of my favorite forms of magic, and I don't see it happen in such a cool way ever. But the unique way in which these characters who live in an older time than I'm used to and have less war tactic abilities, but they do have this elemental magic, the unique and creative ways that they figure out how to fight with each other. And I love too that this is such a soft magic system, and so not only do I fairly well understand the boundaries of this magic, but constantly they're doing things that I think I had no idea that this was even an option, but it fits within the boundaries you've given me up to this point. And I loved that this series was just continually setting up rules and restrictions that make sense and then breaking them in ways that make sense. And usually that's done within a battle. And this whole sequence of people, magic users and non-magic users, fighting to get within the walls so that Aang can face off against the Fire Lord at the eclipse. Yes! I also wrote down as a note as I was watching these episodes that I loved that Aang was a master at nothing. Katara was a better waterbender than him, Toph was a better earthbender than him, and he didn't even know how to be a firebender yet, and yet he was facing off against the Fire Lord. This was gonna be his moment, and I thought it was gonna be his moment the first time around. I wasn't even paying attention to how many episodes I had left. I loved that Aang, the Avatar, the one that is supposed to be the finisher of this war and who's supposed to bring peace and balance to everything again, he can't do it on his own, and he needs his friends, and he needs so much backup to get him to where he needs to be and to be able to make it even possible for him to face off against the Fire Lord. And it's uncertain if he can do it because he hasn't even mastered all 4 elements yet. And man. Oh, I also love how clever these things are, like them thinking of eclipse glasses when the eclipse came, and they thought of how to solve that problem. Everything is so well thought out. And then you have the fact that their plan didn't even succeed. This is a series that I am constantly thinking, okay, I know where this is going. It's expected. I'm fine with that. It's still gonna be good. And then it never goes the way I think it's gonna go. And then they set something else up for me. And I think, oh, okay, I see where this is going now. And then it doesn't do the thing. And it's constantly surprising me. And it's constantly going in directions that I think that it's never gonna go in. And yet I still see the next setup and think, oh, okay, I know where it's going. And it's always surprising me. And The Eclipse is no exception. I was sure this was going to be the face-off. And I'm really glad that I didn't look at how many episodes I had left to tip me off that I'm wrong. Aang didn't even get to the Fire Lord during the eclipse. And after everything they went to, after the people that were injured, after the people that I'm sure there were some people that died, after having half of their convoy captured and imprisoned, nothing. Aang didn't even get to find the Fire Lord. They failed, and now they have to go back and come up with a new plan. And that is I just don't expect that from a Nickelodeon cartoon. And the other thing that happens is Zuko turns on his dad. Zuko waits until the eclipse, goes to his dad and says, "It's time for you to listen to me. I have been fighting for your approval, and I've been focusing my life on getting your approval and your respect and my honor through you. You're my father. I shouldn't have had to fight this hard for this, but I did. And now I have it, and I realize you're a disappointment." I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but man, that scene was powerful. And Ozai just listened. He accepted it until the eclipse was over. And then he attacked his son. But Zuko redirected the lightning and hit Ozai. There's so many scenes in this series that I was just yelling when it happened, and I'm trying to hold back from doing that during this review, but just reimagining these scenes, they're just so powerful. This was such a good moment for Zuko. Then Zuko arrives at the air temple, practices with that toad thing, how to tell them, "I've changed. Please accept me into your group." Then he does it, and it's a catastrophe, because of course it is. We've seen Zuko's growth. He's won us over. We've been rooting for him for so long, and his arc has been so satisfying. And when he goes to them, of course they don't accept him right away. He's hunted them down. He's attacked them. He's tried to kill them. He's tried to turn them over to the Fire Lord. And at one point, we thought he had changed, and he convinced Katara that he had changed, only to attack them again. Katara, the one who is the motherly part of the group, she is hurt the worst by this, because she was made a fool by believing him and wanting to see the best in him, only to be proven wrong, and she will not be tricked again. I loved that this show in general, but this kids show intended for children, good enough for all ages. This show showed that this character, who has made so many mistakes, who has done so many things wrong, one, is not beyond redemption, is not irredeemable. No matter what you do, you can still have your arc. I love that they showed that. I love that they showed that there are still consequences after you've changed. Everybody, the whole world isn't going to accept you. Your sins, your problems, the things you did wrong aren't going to be swept under the rug, aren't going to just be okay now. It will take a while to win back the trust that you have demolished. And I loved that this show illustrated that. There are so many things, there are so many themes explored in this show that I could spend hours discussing each of them individually. I cannot believe how deep this show is. Toph wants to give Zuko the benefit of the doubt. She goes and finds him. He burns her because he was scared and he was asleep and it was a mistake And again, consequences. Things aren't just easy. He's turned into a good guy now, but that doesn't mean that his path is clear. Even after Zuko faces off against the loogie brain shooty guy and he's defeated, and then the group says, all right, maybe you are okay. Maybe you can join us. Even then, Katara still is not okay with it. She says, Aang, you can do what you want to do. You can do what you think is right, but I still don't trust him. Again, consequences for his actions. It doesn't just go away. People don't just trust you. I loved that this show did this. I also love that Zuko isn't just a new person all of a sudden now that he's a good guy, now that he's decided that he's on their side. He's still angry. He still blows up at the slightest thing. He's still guarded and makes bad choices. Like when he takes Katara to go hunt down the man who, we'll get to that in the next video. Anyway, he still makes really bad choices. He still has bad motivations sometimes. He's still Zuko, still angry, still not whole, still figuring out who he is. Even though he's a good guy now, he's not all better. Then we find out that Iroh hunted down and killed the final dragon, that the masters of, okay, actually, hang on, interruption. The dragons are the original firebenders, right? And firebenders learned their bending from the dragons, as I understand it. Giant moles, were the original earthbenders. Appas, what are those? Bisons, flying bisons, were the first airbenders. Who were the first waterbenders? Did I just miss that? I never saw who the first waterbenders were that the waterbenders learned from. Anyway, I find out that firebending originated from the dragons and they are the masters. And I also find out that Iroh killed the last one. And excuse me, but that hurt. Iroh is the perfect character in the world ever to be made. So don't tell me he killed a dragon. That hurt. I understand, as Zuko said, he had a complicated past. It runs in the family. I appreciate that. I appreciate depth of characters, but no thank you. Zuko and Aang try to seek out the masters of firebending to learn how to firebend, which, again, this is another thing that threw me for a loop. When Zuko offered to be Aang's teacher, I was really excited. This is gonna be the fire master that teaches Aang. That's the perfect way to do this. And that's exactly what I want from Zuko's arc. That's brilliant. And then I accepted it. I was excited about it. I knew where it was gonna go. I knew how it was gonna turn out. No problem. No, actually, Zuko can't bend anymore. And now they need to go learn firebending again together. This show is never not surprising me. Aang and Zuko look for this tribe of people. Aang realizes that they have to do this fire dragon dance in order to set off a chain of actions. And I loved the scene where Aang runs over to Zuko, grabs him by the arm and says, Zuko, come over here. I want you to dance with me. And Zuko's like, what? And Aang goes, just come on. I love the humor in this show. And then when we meet the tribe and they say you have to go and see the fire masters and they'll decide your worth. And when the dragons come out and the dragons aren't extinct, they're still there. There are still two more. Oh, what a powerful moment. And then of course, that's when we learn Iroh didn't kill the last dragon. In fact, he lied. He said he did to protect them, because my Iroh is the best. All right, this is where I'm going to break and split this up into two videos. We're gonna talk about the prison break and all that happens in the second part of this season, but I just have too much to talk about to put it in one video, so I'm gonna break it up. This video is going up on Thursday, and depending on how fast I can edit the second video, it'll be up either on Friday or Saturday. So be sure to chat with me about this part of it, and I will see you very soon with the second part. I post videos every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'll see you again soon. Bye.